We're really, really excited to, in just a few minutes, introduce today's guest and tell you all about his amazing company and some of the amazing things that we're doing together with him to benefit students and school districts all over the Midwestern United States. Before we get to that, I want to ask this question. Did you ever have that feeling when you just knew something was right? Maybe it was that day that you first met the person that was eventually going to become your spouse, or the day that you figured out that that individual was meant for you. Maybe you've spent weeks, if not months, going through house after house after house, figuring out where you wanted to live, and finally found the house that was exactly right. Maybe it was when you knew that you were in the right career or you had picked the right education pathway. I think we've all had that feeling once or twice where we knew something was just right. Let me give you a couple of examples where that's happened for me. Many of you are familiar with Metalcraft of Mayville. They're a Wisconsin manufacturer that produces Skag power equipment. I have a Skag lawnmower in my garage. It is amazing. I can literally mow about 3/4 of an acre, that's my yard, in less than 15 minutes. If you've never mowed your lawn at 25 miles an hour, it is an experience to say the least. Well, that company's president and CEO, Randy Glady, is a really, really good friend of mine, has been for a long time, runs that company, amazing leader. Many people know him. What you may not know about Randy is that all the way back in 1999, Randy walked into my office for an interview. He had been recruited by a headhunting company, and he was interviewing for director of operations of our company. Later, he became vice president of operations of that company. And Randy and I had a conversation. It was a 3-hour conversation, didn't even feel like an interview. And when he walked out the door, I said to myself, that person is going to work in this company. Randy later told me that as he walked out the door, in fact, the words that he put it into months and months after we started working together was, I don't care what that guy offers me, I'm going to take it because I want to work with him. And I felt exactly the same way. We did amazing things at that company, America's Best Quality Coatings. I've had that feeling a number of times here at ATS Lab Midwest, a little company where we do really, really big things. I'll use our producer, Melissa Martin, as one example. The first time I interviewed Melissa Martin, I had her resume in front of me. She had amazing experience, none of which had anything to do with what we did here at ATS Lab Midwest. But I just had that feeling that she was right for the position in our marketing department. And she's been here now 3 years doing amazing things. Same feeling when we hired Ivan Manuel. Ivan was working for a high-tech company, Foxconn, the largest contract manufacturing company in the world, when he came to us. I got off of our phone interview and I said, that is somebody who's going to fit here. I felt the same way with Alex Hobson, who handles our business development work on the western half of the state of Michigan. He was transitioning from a career as an Army officer, no experience in education, no experience in manufacturing or technology, but he had so much heart. I just knew he was somebody that was going to work out. Same thing when we put our companies together with Applied Technology Systems over 3 years ago. Paul Augusta, who owned that company for 2 decades before we acquired it and merged it into Lab Midwest. I just had that feeling a year before we did that transaction, meeting Paul, that our companies were going to do great things together, and we absolutely have been doing great things together. So one final example that leads into our topic of discussion for today. Earlier this year, we put together what we call our new tech team. This was a group of people that was busy looking at spaces where we thought we could do more in education and trying to find partners who could help us do more. Now, here at ATS Lab Midwest, we are never going to be that company with 100 different brands on our website. That's not who we are. We partner with companies that are number one in their space, doing really, really amazing things. But one of the questions that we were hearing from so many of our customers was, you guys are doing all this awesome stuff in mechatronics and robotics and automation and artificial intelligence, all of these different spaces where you are really, really innovative. What are you doing in that area of coding and programming and computer science? And the answer was, while we were touching those spaces in a lot of different ways, we didn't necessarily have a solution that met that market exactly where it needed to be met. And so that team I just talked about took it upon itself to go out and research companies that were doing awesome things in that space in the world of education. And I'm proud to announce today that through a whole lot of work, this started all the way back in January of this year, we found the right partner. And when we talk about, did you ever have that feeling where things were just right? That is the feeling that I had when I met today's guest and his team and learned a little bit more about his company. So it is with great pleasure today that I welcome to Webinar Wednesday my friend Alan Sitomer. He has an amazing background. He was California Teacher of the Year, believe it or not. He's a nationally recognized keynote speaker, keynoting an event in Manhattan this weekend, as a matter of fact. He's authored 20 books, and he specializes, and I love this, in engaging disengaged and underperforming students. In the midst of all this, he is also the CEO and the founder of Mastery Coding, an education tech company that prepares young people with workforce-ready skills that are necessary for career success in a world that, as we all know, is being transformed by technology. So, Alan, I am so happy you're joining us today. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday.
Matt, that is one heck of an introduction. Wow. I'm fired up, baby. Let's get after it. You got some questions for me today? How can we help?
Most certainly do. And your reputation precedes you. Your energy is awesome. Let's dig right in here and start by tell us a little bit about the history of your company. What led you to start a company like Mastery Coding?
Well, as you mentioned, I come right out of the classroom. So one of the things that is unique about our company is that we are educators coming to technology as opposed to technologists coming to education. And there's a big difference when you're trying to implement curriculum, reach real kids that come from diverse backgrounds and things like that. So I spent years, decades, dog years as an English language arts educator. I ended up, in an effort to try to reach my students, writing one book that caught fire. Disney, yes, that Disney offered me a multi-book contract, and then Scholastic came in and offered me contracts, and I just, like, I'm writing books, I'm teaching kids, and I'm reaching those, as you mentioned, those disengaged students. Well, what I'm a deep believer in is that literacy is the pathway to breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty, right? The students who are most at need very much need these skills. And as I live in Los Angeles, I have a front row seat to how technology is changing everything, every industry, every company. Literally every company is a technology company nowadays, but we still sort of treat computer science, STEM, such as like after school clubs, like it'd be cool to, nobody ever said, let's make an algebra an after school club, right? They consider it fundamental and core. And I believe that for the generations moving forward, that a shift is afoot. And so I left the classroom, and with a little bit of gumption and a little bit of good fortune and a little bit of sweat equity, I think, launched Mastery Coding to to a lot of people's delights. We have a lot of success with a lot of students, a lot of educators, and they're learning, we got stuff in 3D modeling and Unity and game development, and we're doing such exciting stuff. And that's what's engaging the kids. We are working well with the teachers in the districts. And I think that you have me on today because you see that the time has come for us as a nation to English, science, history, math, and computer science. There's like a democratization of the curriculum that is imminent.
A democratization of the curriculum in all these amazing areas, educators coming to technology, coming out of the classroom and understanding how to bring this learning alive. I absolutely love that story, Alan. And speaking of that learning, as students go through your curriculum, as they go through the Mastery Coding experience, what specifically are they learning on that journey?
Well, I mean, look, if you want to know what I believe the secret sauce to education is, it is meet kids where they are and tap their passion. All these kids are passionate about something. You just what's going to unlock the Rubik's Cube, if you would. And what we see is technology, gaming, esports, computer science, STEM. There's an energy about these things. So we sort of meet them there, And then we lift the hood on all their favorite stuff, right? And explore the design and show how code underpins. You mentioned a 25 mile an hour lawnmower. Like, I want to ride one of those things, right?
You're welcome
But
anytime. Come
that
visit.
that I guarantee you that the person who created that didn't do it with a piece of a piece of paper and a pencil, right? That is being modeled out through programming languages and things like that. And there's a lot of data science and engineering that goes underneath that. So all the coolest toys are made with this, and that gives us the opportunity to teach students skills in areas where they see that they can have some agency, some interest. And then our curriculum, what is very important is certifications, because we believe that certifications will get you the job interview and portfolios will get you the job. Thus, our curriculum delivers both, and it's all about workforce readiness as well as college readiness, because as I think the universities are looking for those computer science students. They are highly prized across the nation. So we sort of channel students towards wherever they want to go, really.
And we love products here at Webinar Wednesday and solutions that give students so many different options, whether it's direct to workforce, going on to a technical or community college, going into an apprenticeship, going to a four-year university. No path is right for every student, and giving students those choices and opportunities as they go through their education pathway. So very, very important. I want to talk now about where you see mastery coding fitting in the world of education. We know there's tons of demand for schools to teach these concepts and skills that you just talked about. We know that that demand is there because we're hearing it from our customers. That, in fact, is what led us to the opportunity to work with you. Where do you see schools implementing the mastery coding platform? Is it just career technical education? Where do you see it fitting into education?
The answer is we do not just see it in sort of a silo of career and technical education. Having said that, CTE is definitely, CTE gets it. CTE understands the pragmatism necessary to deliver to our students, right? There's a thing about my own background that I love the arts, I love humanity, but we have this extraordinary emphasis on like Mesopotamia that comes to the chagrin of not teaching things like HTML or CSS or JavaScript. And ultimately, a student that doesn't understand at least the basic concepts of algorithmic thinking and the tenets of computer science, they are going to sit there like a bump on a log in other corporate environments, job environments, and that doesn't benefit them at all. They don't have to become a computer scientist or a programmer, but to not even understand what's driving how the thinking and things like that, that to me represents a bit of negligence on American education's part. And I don't like to blame, I like to just get after it and help shift perceptions. There's zero doubt that if you're a parent and you're paying attention right now, you want your child, daughter, son, doesn't matter, to at least be exposed to this. And that right there is where we fit in to the curriculum right there, because we meet these kids where they are. I see that you have our social emotional learning sort of component, because we're whole child educators. This isn't just about X's and O's, okay, and binary and code and ones and zeros and things like that. We have to talk about personal responsibility, your digital footprint right there, self-awareness, communication skills, so learning how to learn. So all of these are baked in, and that's why you see the multidisciplinary approach that we take, where we can manifest project-based learning in any subject area. For example, you see the diorama in English class or things like that, or photosynthesis, how does it get manifested in science? Well, our students can make website pages that you have to code, but you have to demonstrate the content area knowledge about the subject area. So you can have Hamlet, where be your jibes now, Yorick, right? And you could read you the skull. Or you could um, model out an ecological system on the Galapagos Islands right there to show the interdependency of fauna with wildlife and the dependency on the natural environment. So that's, I think, where schools are going. And competency-based learning is very much also the way we approach things, by meeting kids where they are and then taking them forward one step at a time.
Meeting kids where they are using competency-based learning. It's interesting as you began that last answer, Alan, talking about all of the different necessities when we get to the workforce around computer science, understanding algorithms, understanding data science, understanding computer science, understanding programming and coding. And I think you're right. As our world evolves, these aren't going to be nice to haves when you get to the workforce. They are going to be need to haves. As you put it earlier, every company is a tech company. And so it's going to be really, really interesting to see this world evolve. I just saw a statistic last week that said that just this year in the financial industry, the amount of data available in finance will grow by 700%, 7 times just in the year 2021. Even if the person who said that is half right, that is incredible growth in data, and having the toolkit to be able to analyze that data, understand it, and put it to work is going to be really, really important. Moving on to our next question, I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal actually this morning about the national teacher shortage and the challenges that are taking place in the world of education due to the fact that we don't always have the number of teachers or the teachers with the right competencies to be able to, as you put it, meet the students where they are, to find those right opportunities to connect with students. That becomes even more acute, that shortage, in technical areas like career technical education, like computer science. So tell us a little bit about who's going to teach this. You have this amazing tool. Who are these experts that you're going to find out there in the education ether that are actually going to understand this stuff well enough to be able to teach it?
So one of the things that the research bears out, proves almost unequivocally, is that it's the educator at the front of the room that makes the biggest impact on student learning. You can have an amazingly well outfitted classroom with the highest tech tools and things like that, and a stinky teacher versus a phenomenal teacher in a dilapidated room with a leaky roof. And the kids who have the phenomenal teacher are going to make greater gains. You can't buy this stuff, okay? Teaching is an art and a science, but without that art, right, without the soul, without the passion, without the connection, without the professional development, the students aren't going to be successful. Obviously, we therefore place an extraordinary emphasis on making sure the educator is set up to win, right? And being set up to win means different things to different educators, because some teachers come to us and they've got some computer science skills and they have some chops and they've been doing it for a bit. Others are just like, yeah, I'll take on the challenge of this class, whether it's a math teacher, a STEM teacher, whatever. And we have to make sure that, firstly, that they emotionally feel they're going to be well supported. Okay. Because if you've ever been in education, you ever have been handed just here you go, good luck, right, with that type of thing, it's very frustrating and it can be demoralizing, and it certainly doesn't set the kids up for success right there. So we place, without a doubt, I would say that our dedication to professional development, you can hear my insistence on it, is not lost on everybody at Mastery Coding. Teachers need support. Having said that, they do not need to be the subject matter experts, because we run a Khan Academy style curriculum that has a lot of multimedia, a lot of video-based stuff. We've got self-grading assessments. We've got project-based learnings. We provide the rubrics. We provide the lesson plans. We provide formative and summative sort of grading. So the teacher can be a facilitator at the onset until they get a better grasp of the content. And then as their content area expertise advances, that's when they start, if this was a football game, at first they're running the ball on first down, they're running the ball on second down, but then, so they want to run a flea flicker. They want to, they kind of want to, they start to get a handle of what's it mean to be the quarterback of this team. and then we move along with them. So it's all about the teacher first and foremost at Mastery Coding.
All about the teacher, all about supporting that teacher. I love the credibility that you have coming from education, coming from the classroom, advocating for a model in which the teacher can still deliver the learning, can still inspire students. In fact, have even more time than before to inspire students and put them on the right trajectory, all the while knowing they're going to have the support, not just technically, not just in terms of PD, really important, but also, as you suggest, multimedia based, video backed curriculum that is going to deliver really, really interactive learning to their students. So we've talked about the teachers, we've talked about the employers, we've talked about the competencies. Let's talk about the student. What is the experience of going through the mastery coding process? What is that like for a student that's experiencing that?
So we take what I like to call a low floor, high ceiling approach to instruction. And basically, I'll make an analogy to cooking. If the student comes to us and they need to learn how to make a piece of toast or scramble an egg, fine, that's where we start with them right there. But you get some kids come to us ready to make eggs Benedict with hollandaise sauce and sauteed shallots, that type of thing, right? And so we need to be able to differentiate learning to meet kids where they are accordingly. So our toolkit has to have no prior experience necessary. What am I going to tell a 13-year-old? Oh, too late. You're out of luck right there. It's preposterous right there. But then again, there are some students that, they're digital natives born into this environment. They take to it like a duck to water, and suddenly they're coming up with project ideas that are phenomenal. Okay. And they need to feel like I can roll with it, baby. I can do, and we have some cross-disciplinary stuff that we've seen students build that just will take your breath away. So this right here is, do the students see the opportunity to feel like they can be successful? I don't want to get too wonky, but there's a thing called Vygotsky's zone of professional development, which is basically, if it's way too easy, kids will get bored, they check out, they want nothing to do with it. If it's way too hard over their head, they check out, they don't want to feel shame. But if you hit the sweet spot where it's challenging yet engaging, right, and like pushes them forward and keeps their interest going, they will just run. And when it comes to technology, that's exactly what we try to do.
We want students to run, and whether that student is brand new to coding, programming, and computer science, whether they are, to your point, and I think it's the first time, by the way, that somebody has used the analogy of hollandaise sauce with sauteed shallots over egg Benedict. I'm almost positive, Melissa can correct me if I'm wrong, that's the first time we've had that analogy here on Wednesday, but I love it. It doesn't matter where they come from, we have an opportunity for them to have that incredible experience.
And just Matt, one thing though also is that we treat teachers the same way. So if they have no prior experience teaching coding, we meet them where they are. And that teacher shortage article that you referenced, one of the great sources of frustration for us educators across the country is the lack of support right now. It's demoralizing and things like that. People have they're walking away from the profession because of, they just feel isolated. So that's a really big point that we make sure our educators feel like they get a warm chocolate chip cookie and a nice cozy blanket, and we're here for you.
Yeah, warm chocolate chip cookie and cozy blanket. And by the way, that's that whole feeling of knowing something is right? That's knowing that you're on the right track. Those, by the way that you support teachers, one of the key reasons that we were so attracted to your company early on, people that have worked with ATS Lab Midwest over the years certainly know that we'll never let anybody fail at anything, but we are also only as good as our suppliers are at making sure that we take great care of our customers. So that's really important to us on the teacher side, as it is to you, which is one of the things that is making this such a great partnership. Let's talk now about industry relevance. Now, you commented earlier about the importance of certifications, the importance of building a portfolio. That intrigues me. I want to go a little bit deeper. So can you share with our audience how certifications and portfolio building fit into Mastery Coding's experience?
Well, the world has changed a great deal. A 4-year degree from a university used to have a lot more credibility and cachet, and it was one of those things that employers looked for. Now it's competency. It really is. Can you do the job? Do I believe you can do the job? I think you made the reference to one of the people at the beginning of they had no experience inside the realm, but they demonstrated that je ne sais quoi somehow that they could be successful at doing the work. So our curriculum is designed to prove that our graduates, the students that matriculate, they can do the work. Okay, that they have, they have the grit to go through the challenges of debugging. Which, if you're going to work in this, is just that's what it is to learn these skills right here. They've got the communication tools to enter into new spaces and disagree respectfully without flames going around and HR lawsuits and things like that. How you got to know how to work well together with one another. And then they have to understand time management. They have to understand responsibility and fulfillment. So all of these things, are prerequisites to building out successful portfolio of work right there. There's nobody's an island in the curriculum because no employer is looking to hire somebody who can't work well with other people. The certifications, of course, are industry recognized. We do not provide the certification testing. Okay, all of our courses, all of our curriculum writers and our engineers, they are certified in each of these subject areas. So they've taken these specialized tests, and our curriculum mimics in our practice tests the same type of questions they're going to face on the certification tests, so that the likelihood of the students passing at their first time, and they've been, it's like taking the driver's test and already having driven the car and done the parallel parking and knowing the road and the street and where the stop signs are. Makes a great difference right there. And that's probably why we're really successful at getting our students to feel that they can do this.
Exactly. So getting students to feel that they can do it, giving them the confidence that they can do it. And then the question becomes, do what? So we're teaching them these amazing competencies, creating an awesome portfolio, equipping them with industry relevant certifications. And that all should be in the name of whatever comes next, as we talked about before. Is that a four-year university? Is it community college? Is it military service? Is it direct to workforce? What have you? So many great pathways available to our young people and people of all ages as they go through a sequence of lifelong learning. Now, when we talk to young people and we talk about careers in computer science and in programming and in coding, sometimes what we hear from them is, well, that sounds interesting, but I don't think I want to spend the rest of my life sitting behind a computer just writing code. I think you and I both know that that is not what we are limiting our students to when they're thinking about these amazing career pathways. For students who take these courses through high school or in these certifications, what kinds of career or education pathways does this lead to?
So it's amazing. You first of all, you brought up sort of a very key slide right here, which is about the opportunity, if you would. So there are, because every company is now a technology company, and the pandemic exacerbated the need for talent, there is an immense sort of skills gap right here. So firstly, we understand as a nation that, and this is not red state, blue state, has nothing to do with politics. We understand as a nation, we need to produce more students who have the ability to step into, these are six-figure jobs we're talking about, and these kids can very often in their first few years of employment earn more money than their parents ever made in a calendar year. So that's the opportunity right there. Now, what the job is itself, it's like, when they think about it, we're talking about like working for Tesla or right, we're talking about like working for Riot Games, or we're talking about I mean, it doesn't matter that there's no field that isn't being wildly transformed by technology. For example, I was speaking at a conference, and I think it was at the University of Michigan's dental school was prototyping, I guess to have a tooth, extracted and then replaced type of thing. The old school way was they had, 25 teeth, and they would kind of measure up and eyeball it, this and that, and then look at the gap, and then they'd hammer it in, and then they'd saw it off, right? And then you'd spend 3, 5, 7 days in pain having an implant done. Now they take an electric scan of your mouth and they 3D print something that down to the micromillimeter fits perfectly, and it gets inserted. I mean, it literally, that's what we're talking about. Wherever you have an interest in doing anything, if you own the technology skills, you will be able to find a hybrid opportunity. You're not just going to be chained behind a desk grinding code unless you want to be, because if you want to be, those jobs are available. But if you don't feel like you need that mix and this and that, plenty of opportunities across industries of all spectrums exist.
Healthcare, distribution, warehousing, manufacturing, retail, hospitality, just literally every corner of our economy, great opportunities that can be had for individuals with amazing skills in the areas of computer science. So Melissa, we've had a really, really interesting conversation so far with Alan Sitomer of Mastery Coding, the founder and CEO of that company, as a matter of fact. Love to invite you back up to the bridge and let's chat a little bit about what our audience is interested in learning as we continue Webinar Wednesday.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt. We had a really great question. Alan, can you tell us, is this curriculum aligned to state standards?
Yes, of course. Once again, educators coming to technology, we understand the needs of a standards-based mandate. Okay, that has academic objectives, that has the vocabulary of the discipline right there, that has lesson plans that are, teacher does, student does, things like that. They manifest themselves in, as I said, we're all about experiential learning here also. So it's not just standards-based learning, but kids are always doing, okay, to prove their knowledge. So that's the hybrid notion that we sort of bring to the building of our curriculum, because that's where you get the engagement, that's where you get the trial and error. But the standards are without a doubt our Northern Star.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have time for just one more question. And I think this takes it all the way back to some of the remarks we were making at the very beginning of this interview. And that is, do you foresee computer science as becoming more part of core curriculum rather than just an elective?
Well, I think that my energy dictates that I don't just foresee it. You see states across the nation making the shift. Okay. In just the past couple of years, you've seen a variety of states mandate computer science. You've seen states acknowledge that they can give a graduation credit to it as a foreign language, as a math class, as a science class. So it's almost inarguable that every state in the nation is going to completely continue to iterate its validation of computer science and STEM. And I think that what is soon going to happen is it's going to move from, oh, it's cool that you teach these computer science courses, and that's the way the parents look at it, from how can you not be teaching my kids this stuff? And I think that right there is sort of where we are, where we're going to see the seesaw sort of bounce out to the other side. And that's when, that's why I think, Matt, the partnership that we're talking about right now is really timely, because you're seeing that curve of adoption, which I'm sure a lot of, your business partners are quite aware of right there. Like, what's the tipping point type of thing? And it's imminent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that all of our attendees to today's webinar are fortunate because they're hearing about this now, and they can start integrating it into their programs now as it becomes more mandated across the country. To all of our attendees, if you do have follow-up questions, we won't have time to answer them live here, but if you want to know more about the curriculum or how it can integrate into your program, please do reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you more about it. You can either email info@labmidwest.com or just reply to that follow-up email where we send you the recording, and we'd love to talk more. Alan, thank you. Matt, I will leave it to you to wrap up.
All right. Well, thank you, Melissa. You know, every single webinar Wednesday seems to have its own theme, and we don't always know the theme until we're done. But I will tell you that that last answer that was delivered by Alan, when he said, "How can you not be teaching my kids this stuff?" totally sums up the reason that we put this partnership together, totally sums up the reason that people are with us today on Webinar Wednesday. I want to begin by thanking Alan Sitomer, President, CEO, founder of Mastery Coding, for spending time with us today. Really, really great conversation. To Melissa's point, if you have more interest in learning more about this partnership and what we're up to, you know where to find us, and we would love to talk with you. That's all the time we have for today's program. We are here, as you know, every single Wednesday at 2 o'clock Central. We'll see you next week.